Howdy, everyone, and welcome back. I want to say a big shout out and thank you to Treasure Hunt with Us, MNGM, for shouting me out, I believe, yesterday evening during their live stream. That was really cool of them. Much appreciated. And just thank you to everyone in the community. We are having discontinued success with the channel. I think we're up to 166 subscribers. I'm still trying to hit that extra 34 before we all show up and take over Tucson for the Seeker Summit. So if you have liked my content and want to continue to see more and help the channel grow and the community grow, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Another thing you notice right off the bat is we have a different background. This is actually the intro I've been working on that I'm going to put in before all my videos, or probably the majority of my videos. Alrighty, so I've been a big component of Amy Seeks videos and the live sessions that Justin has done with Amy Seeks. If you haven't watched them all, I can save you 12 to 15 hours of your life. Amy Six does a really good job. I really enjoy watching her content. She's just like a really good facilitator and moderator and runs a good program and asks a lot of good questions and thought provoking questions. So I really enjoyed all of her content. But I think the shortest live session she did that involved Justin was like an hour and 45 minutes. But some of them were 4.5 hours long. So I'm not kidding when I say I could save you at least 12 to 15 hours. So, one of I've thought about a lot of the things that Justin has said in Navy Seeks and whether or not they could or possibly could not be related to his Beyond the Maps treasure hunt. So that's kind of what we're doing today. I thought the What You Seeks You Already Know title was kind of clever. So there you go. As I did mention, he did appear in a lot of her videos or live sessions dating back to 2020. And this is emphasis myself, emphasis Wick of things that can be useful for Beyond the Maps Edge. So I know that a lot of my videos are not like groundbreaking. They're not breaking news. They're not new things. At least not all of them. Obviously, the cipher attempts by Frank was new. So we're gonna do mix. I mean, we're just getting the channel rolling. We're kind of catching up. We're gonna bring in my channel up to speed of the last year. So that's why a lot of my stuff is kind of like older in the sense of how like in the hunt years or hunt timeline. So that's why I'm kind of just edging the channel along, kind of seeing where it goes. I'm looking forward next week, next Friday afternoon and evening and Saturday to see a bunch of y'all in Seeker Summit. As of now, I plan for Sunday, since I'll leave a little later, is to go up to Mount Lemon and check that out. So that'll be fun if you guys want to tag along or want to get a group to go up there to Mount Lemon and check some things out. That'd be cool. Anyway, let's get into it. Again, what you seek, you already know. So the first thing that I thought was interesting that Justin and Amy talk about, or is Justin talking about land rights conservations con sorry conversations. A lot of this is when he was involved in the Forrest Finn hunt and the kind of things he was looking at for Forrest Finn's treasure to see what made the most sense. So legally speaking, the various types of land rights. One of the other videos we talked about land designations and the couple differences between them. So this is kind of picking back on this, but through the lens of Justin's eyes as he tried to figure out the most probable or logical spot to go look for Forrest Finn's treasure. We know that he spent like 500 days in Wyoming, so part of this does indeed cover Yellowstone. But right off the bat, we see that he had conversations with land rights lawyers to kind of get a better understanding and a high level or deep level, if you will. I'm not really sure the exact depth of the context and conversations, but he wanted to speak to land rights lawyers to get an understanding of how someone can hide it, where and what different types of places they can hide it, and what kind of the restrictions are by state. And obviously, each state is different. So Justin wanted to figure that out. He did note that you could lease land from someone, but an unknown timeline changes everything. When it's like a year, maybe 2 years, it's a whole different avenue in terms of land rights and the ability to hide or abandon something on it versus it's an unknown timeline that really changes a lot of things and a lot of things that you can and cannot do. So that's one of the things that I noted from the videos. The next one is that he brings up a car company that was advised to hide vehicles right outside the boundary of the national park on national forest land by lawyers and attorneys. The backstory there is a car company, and I do not remember the specific car company. I think I might have mentioned this in another video, or maybe the collabs with Eric on One Clue Short, but the car company more or less wanted to abandon cars or vehicles in a national park, leave the keys in them, and whoever could find the vehicles would then be the rightful owner. And then, of course, they'd have to go through paperwork and things like that. But that was the general concept of the car slash treasure hunt, if you will. And after they spoke with attorneys and lawyers, they were advised to leave the vehicles just outside of the national park. And I don't know, I probably should have done some research as to why that's relevant. If you know why that's relevant, or if you're a lawyer, or can, ask around some lawyers and maybe provide some feedback in the comments, that'd be cool. That'd be a cool opportunity to go a little deeper into why that matters and why that specific suggestion is important there. But again, they're advised not to leave the vehicles inside the park, but to leave it just outside the park. So there has to be something there. There has to be some kind of loophole, if you will, or some favorable abilities to abandon anything just outside a national park. And the last little snippet here is that least volatile land rights are indeed national parks. They are protected. You don't exactly see national parks go away. They're here to stay. I mean, they might change from a national park to a national monument or other types of designations, but they're national parks. They're here to stay for the long term. And the other thing that Justin noted is that wilderness areas are the cream of the crop and gold standard for land preservation and conservation. We all are very familiar with, he says, the treasure's just hiding out or waiting out in the wilderness for someone to go pick it up. So is it a literal wilderness area versus just what Justin interprets as just a general wilderness, the woods outside? We don't exactly know, but he does make a notice here and notate that wilderness areas are the best place to abandon something. But also the flip side of that is that you can't, in the audiobook, it's like, shall not touch checkpoint soil foot traffic only, and there's a lot of pack in, pack out, and don't leave anything in a wilderness area. So there's a little bit of a gray area for me about, yes, it is the best place for conserving and preserving the land and for the land not to be sold or leased out or used for mining or logging purposes, but I think those restrictions might come into play there a little bit. Excuse me. So that's the first thing I wanted to touch base on is the land rights conservation conversations. My goodness, sorry. We'll get there. The next thing is that Justin talked about the southwest corner of Yellowstone a lot, which is the Cascade Corner section. He thought that the thrill of the chase for Finn was hidden or close to Yellowstone Park for reasons we mentioned on the last slide. But it's also possible that Justin thought that one or more clues for the thrill of the chase were outside of Wyoming and possibly started in Montana. So maybe I think that he looked at Baker's Hole and he looked at a couple of places outside, like Yellowstone more on the Montana side. So maybe he thought you would start out there and then work your way into the park. Again, Cascade Corner in the southwest of Yellowstone he noted it as being fantastic. It is a fly fishing haven. But the most interesting thing that I thought Justin said, this is in a separate video, so he's bringing up Cascade Corner in multiple videos or multiple live sessions with Amy Seeks. He says that it's free to enter Cascade Corner. I looked it up, and it is, which is another thing that's intriguing. You don't necessarily have to pay to enter Cascade Corner. It is like an honor system where you show up and it's like a day use fee. And I'm sure that, like most other day use places, they give you a ticket or something to put in your car to show that you paid. But technically speaking, you don't necessarily have to go and use it. You don't quite have to go in and pay. You could, in theory, not pay and just go in because it's not a manned or gated entrance. But the most interesting thing that I thought he said was that it's level playing field. You're not required to pay any fee. And of course, he talks about level playing field and everyone on equal footing, brings it up a lot. So it's kind of a wording that's reverberated both in the past in an Amy Six live session and in the present day. Now that the hunt is out there and the treasure's been left out in the wilderness. Another thing that was cool about Cascade Corner, it's got a plethora of waterfalls, but It does have rainbow falls down there. But the main issue in general with Yellowstone and other national parks that we saw both in the Netflix series and in the book is that dogs are not allowed on the trails in Yellowstone. There was some kind of rule that they had to be there, I think it was like 100 meters, 300 feet or something of a road or campsite or whatever. And if they were in that, they could kind of, roam free or use the 6 foot leash law. But other than that, they have to be on a leash at all times. And of course, Justin says that you can bring your dog and you don't have to worry about those kind of restrictions. They're more than welcome to come if they're the outdoorsy or fit type, if you will. If your dog can handle it, bring them on. Bring them along. And here we get into how long was he actually planning Beyond the Map's Edge, and we go back to the AB6 live sessions and consider that. Excuse me, again. He said in one of the videos that he planned all along to rehide it, being the force fin treasure, to keep the momentum going and add a twist to it. That was another intriguing thing that he said. I don't know what that twist would be. But that there'll be a next time, and it is plan B now, and I plan to set something up for, and now we know obviously that's Beyond the Map's Edge. And then the last thing to note was that Justin's special spot to hide something precedes the thrill of the chase. This next little bit here is that Justin allegedly filed a copyright claim to one of Amy's 6 videos. I was able to speak to someone who was a little bit more knowledgeable of it and actually see a transcript of that video. I want to believe it's called Entity. I don't know the specifics of why Justin wanted to copyright this or kind of take it down, but I do know the details in the transcript. I'm not going to share that with you, but I will just say that, in my opinion, from reading through the transcript, there is nothing in that video that is relevant in any sort of way to Beyond the Map's Edge. So again, I'm not going to go into the details of that particular video, but I will say, just in my opinion, from seeing the transcript, that there's no clues in it. So it's not like he said something or slipped up about the place or somewhere that he would have found the meteor or something like that. He didn't go and say, oh, I searched a ton in Yellowstone, but before Finn, I was really big on this place in Idaho or whatever. Like, he doesn't say anything like that at all. It's just strictly something else entirely. And again, I'm not going to go into it because I don't know the specifics of why Justin wanted to copyright it, and I don't want to get myself in any possible trouble. so that's all I'll say about that. Because I know that a lot of people thinking, oh, well, why did he take it down? Why did he want to hide this video, if you will, or file a copyright on it? Maybe there's a clue or something. And just again, there's not. There's not a clue there. But I was going to also do a video about Yellowstone in general and why I thought it could be a relevant place. Again, I did say a moment ago the biggest issue is that dogs are not allowed. But there's a lot of other ways that you could potentially get into Yellowstone for free. And aside from Cascade Corner, this is the only non-manned or non-gated entrance where you can just legitimately go into the park and not have to necessarily pay a fee. You should, morally speaking, pay the fee all the time, but you don't have to. You may or may not get in trouble for not doing so if a ranger or park personnel were to come and see that you don't have that sticker or not sticker, but piece of paper displayed on your car to say that you did indeed pay the day use fee. But and again, in theory, you don't necessarily have to, which is something Justin says in some of the videos and Q&As that he did. But also, he mentioned in some parts, I think he was talking specifically about Montana, but I'm sure it might also apply to Wyoming, that there's the law about going in below the high water mark or floating in on a navigable waterway, such as the Madison. So there are a couple different ways that you could get into Yellowstone without having to pay. And Yellowstone technically is open, you can camp there, so you can reserve a spot there. You can technically stay in the park 24/7. It's not necessarily open 24/7. I think it's like a dawn to dusk type thing, like a lot of national parks are. But theoretically speaking, if you did rent or reserve a spot, you could stay in there, obviously 24/7, because you're staying there for multiple days. And there are some ways, like national holidays or things they do where you don't have to pay to enter. So there's a couple different loopholes there, if you will. And of course, Justin is a loophole for Tua. So even though he said in the video with X marks the pod that there aren't any like loopholes or things that are off kilt in his rules, so kind of begs the question, back and forth. At one moment he says, "I'm not really trying to discourage you all from paying to enter. That I don't want to have you guys rule that out as a possible place to go." But then early on in the early stages of the treasure hunt, he was very adamant that you didn't have to pay to get in. And even at the Tyler X interview, if I recall specifically, he kind of flips back and forth about whether you should pay to enter, whether you should not pay to enter, or whether you should just focus on something else and not really worry too much about that. And then he brings up like the not taking too many vacation days, and it's not that expensive to go into the parks, and shouldn't use that as a way to not go somewhere. But again, I was going to make a separate video about Yellowstone and potentially have a guest, my first guest on the show, to do that with me. But I may still have them. But I kind of thought, since I was already talking about Cascade Corner and Yellowstone anyways, that I would just kind of bring up those different types of things with Yellowstone that may or may not be relevant to be on the Mem's Edge. But like the book starts in 9 Mile Hole. He talks about 9 Mile Hole so much and Yellowstone so much in the book, and you just know that he not only talks about his time looking for the Forrest Fenn treasure, but growing up as a kid going into Yellowstone, and he makes the realization that this isn't the Yellowstone that I recognize. This isn't the Iron Springs that I remember when I was a kid with Brandon and my dad fishing. And back then, he says it was a fish cleaning station, not so much like a water hole, if you will, as Finn called it. But yeah, we know Justin's been at Yellowstone a lot, but then we also like, does that mean that if it were to be in Yellowstone, that would he would technically precede or predate the Thrill of the Chase hunt for Forrest Fenn? Yeah, I mean, you could say so. But with all the restrictions and the rules and the no dogs or the dog restraints in Yellowstone, it's really like the biggest part about it that makes Yellowstone complex, even though Justin just loves Yellowstone in the book. It's had a lot of special memories there with Brandon and Tucker, and obviously, like when he was younger with his dad or whomever brought him, maybe Grandpa Fitz, I'm not really sure. But we love Yellowstone, so it's hard to rule it out. But that's all I really wanted to do. I just wanted to kind of combine those two videos, talk a little about Yellowstone, talk a little bit about Amy Six live sessions, because they're intertwined. Because a lot of those videos were like several of them were made after Jack Stu found Forrest Fenn's treasure in Yellowstone or Yellowstone. We don't know, right? It's never been technically specified. But as we saw on Netflix and other people, pretty sure it was in Yellowstone. I'm pretty sure it was in Navajo. I'm very confident of that. But so that's what I wanted to do. I still might have that special guest on, as I mentioned. I think it'd be kind of cool. I think he'd be a really good guest to be on the show. But I'm sure we could talk for days, and we're pretty good friends in Discord, so I think that would not be an issue with us talking or having things to talk about. But as I said in the early stages of this particular video, if you do like what you're seeing, please consider subscribing. I am trying to obviously grow the channel and looking forward to meeting you all at the Seeker Summit. I will be on the content creators panel. I believe it's at 10:40 on Saturday with MNJM from Treasure Hunt with Us, One Clue Short of a Treasure, and then I'm not sure if the other guest has been publicly stated, so I won't say who that is, but there's another guest as well. And then obviously Froggy is running it. So it'll be cool. It'll be a fun time to kind of interact and talk about content creator. We have a different um, range of timelines that people have obviously been working on their YouTube channels. Mine's relatively newer, but One Clue Short and Treasure Hunt with Us are about a year. Then Froggy, I believe, is a couple years. So I have a good bit of experience, but I also did a lot of stuff before YouTube. So streaming and recording videos is nothing new to me, and it kind of relates to my work and my job as well. So that's why people are like, oh, you look so comfortable and you seem so relaxed. It's like, well, I am. I should be. I've been doing this a lot. So that's why transitioning to YouTube for treasure hunting was more or less kind of easy. It just took me a while to figure out specifically what I wanted to do. But I've been blabbing long enough. So apologies for that.